Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2023 ANZAC Dawn Service with the Otaki District's Memorial RSA. Thank you to the parade for coming in and joining us, and we're very grateful to have the number of military members from Linton joining us today. You are very welcome to be here with us. Our official guests today, we welcome the Member of Parliament for Otaki, Teresa Ngobi, the Mayor of the Kapiti Coast District Council, Janet Holborough, and the Chief Executive, Darren Edwards, is here. KCDC District Councillor, Rob Coford, the Otaki Community Board Chair, Cam Butler, and importantly, to the veterans, to their families, to the Otaki communities, and others who have travelled to join us here this morning for the dawn service. I would ask now for the Mayor to read the ANZAC tribute. Janet Holborough.
Tēnā koutou katoa. We stand here this morning, shoulder to shoulder, with the mana whenua of Ngā Tirokawa. We acknowledge the traditional kaitiaki and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay respect to the elders, past, present and emerging. Today, along with all New Zealanders and Australians, we gather to remember those who have served to defend New Zealand. We do this because it is the anniversary of the day when Australian and New Zealand soldiers landed on the beach at Gallipoli in Turkey on 25th April 1915. This was the first major military campaign for soldiers from Australia and New Zealand. Since then, 25th April has been known as ANZAC Day. ANZAC comes from the name Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. It was shortened to ANZAC in 1915. Since then, when Australians and New Zealanders have served together, they have often been known as ANZACs. At Gallipoli, Australians and New Zealanders served with soldiers from other nations, including England, France, and India. The New Zealanders at Gallipoli came from all sorts of backgrounds, but they shared the terrible experience of war. Ever since then, for more than 100 years, the men and women in our Navy, Army and Air Force have honoured the memory of our original ANZACs. On ANZAC Day, there are many ways to honour people who have served and those who continue to serve in Australia and New Zealand's armed forces. We can gather today like this, attending a dawn service or an ANZAC Day march. We can also wear a poppy or a sprig of rosemary as a symbol of remembrance. Towards the end of the ceremony, the last post will be played on a bugle. This historical instrument was played in army camps to announce the end of the day, a time when soldiers should be resting. The last post is played today for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It means that they have done their duty and are now at rest. After the last post, there will be 1 minute of silence. This is a time to think about those who have served in Australia and New Zealand's armed forces, those who continue to serve, and about those who have lost their lives. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnei rā tātou katoa.
Thank you, Your Honour. Officiating today with our religious service is the Venerable Māori Colin from the Rangiatia Church here in Otaki. I invite Māori now to come for the opening prayer and the reading.
Kei ino tātou. Hei mua a koe ia mātou e ihoa. Hei tohu tohu ia mātou mahi katoa. Ko koe anō hoki ki whakakaha ia mātou. Kia whai kororia ai koe ia mātou mahi katoa. he mea timata, he mea mahi, he mea whakaoti I roto I a koe. Ka whiwhi a hoki mātou ki te ora tonu, I te mea I a ta whaitia mai nei e koe, ko I hukaraiti hoki tō mātou ariki. Amen. And our reading this morning from Ecclesiastes. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. Amen.
Thank you, Mari. Last year, for the first time at this service, we read the names of those names that are engraved on this memorial and those who are also service people who made the ultimate sacrifice and are buried in various cemeteries here in Otaki and otherwise. Mari and others from the Rangiatia Church have brought together the names of the servicemen that are listed and also the other names of those that lie in graves around Otaki and in the vicinity. And the names will now be read.
J.H. Ahern, John Ahern, Ariki Wirihana Te Rei, R.L. Bacchus, J.H. Bacchus, T.P. Baker, Romoa Baker, J. Bain, J.L. Bennett, H.J. Best, G.A. Bowker, G. Brady, A. Bright, S. Bright, P. Buchanan, R.T.R. Kakik, M.K. Kakik, F. Catley, J. Chanley, H.F. Cobb, Ria Connor, George Cook, P.L. Cook, S. Cook, A.J. Cook, A.W. Cook, H. Cook, G.J. Cooper, Taipua Coots, D. Cottle, A. Dorset, John Downing Jack, R.C. Dunn, J.B. Faulkner, J. Giddens, E.A. Granfield, J.E. Griffiths, D. Hagan, Peter Hakaraya, A. Hall, S. Hall, Tamuka Hapi, D. L. Harvey, B. Hill, M. Hodge, T. R. H. Hohipuha, R. Hohipuha, R. Kilmister, R. Kiriona,
T.J. Landon, F. Letford, F. Lima, F. Mackey, R. Mackey, P.K. Mahima, E. Mason, S. Makari, C. Makari, Weremu Mira, W. F. Mitchell, E. H. Moffat, G. Moore, R. Morgan, G. Moses, R. Murray, Reg Murray, John Paitehunga Moiho, E. Patchin, W. Patterson, Sam Pohio, T. Pohio, R.A. Pole, E. Quill, L. Raharaha, M. Ranipiri, H. Ray, Horima Mananui Roira, Pahia Ropata, R. Ross, S. Smith Burns, R. Stabley, A.H. Simmons, J.P. Tahiwi, H.K. Tahiwi, S. Tahiwi, Pitira Taipua Wirihana Terei, A. Taylor, Wetini Te Muira, Tauhia Te Wiata, A. Tullock, C. Webb, Sunny Wehi Peihana, W.K. Whitehall, Honi Winera, Albert Winterburn, R. Winterburn, T.E. Wipiti, R. Wright, H. York, T. Hawea, kia maumaharatia nā rātou mō tātou. Kia ora.
We're just going to sing O-E-E.
That beautiful song, and sung so beautifully, was the anthem of the Maori Battalion and has particular significance in this area and around the North Island with the Maori Battalion. We thank those for the singing of the anthem. It's my pleasure and my privilege now to welcome our guest speaker, Heather Peart. Heather is an operational pilot with the RNZAF at Ohakea. She lives in Te Horo with her husband, Lieutenant Colonel Jacob Murray, and they have 2 children. And it's our pleasure to have Heather here. Heather is a member of our RSA, and we have a lot of contact with her and the other service people in this area. I now ask Heather to present the ANZAC Day address.
Tēnā koutou. E te rangatira o te RSA, Mike Fogarty, tēnā koe. E nā rangatira o te rohi, te tiamana o ngā hapu, Rupini Waka, Janet Holborough, Teresa Nobi, tēnā koutou. E ngā mōrahu o ngā pākanga e ngā whānau, tēnā koutou. Tātou kua hui hui mānei I tēnei wā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā toutou katoa. It's an honour to be asked to speak at your dawn service today, and wonderful to see so many people of so many different ages here to commemorate ANZAC Day, especially on such a chilly morning. On ANZAC Day each year, New Zealanders across the world come to services like this to commemorate all the men and women who have served in our armed forces. We especially remember those who have given their lives for our country. Since 1915, more than 30,000 New Zealand military personnel have been killed in wars and conflicts. Of those, more than 9,000 are remembered on memorials to the missing and have no known graves. When you look at the names of our fallen on our war memorials here and elsewhere, think about the pain suffered, the lives cut short, and the grief felt by those left behind. Speak their names so that they are never forgotten, and you have done that here today. You may not have connections to the military today, but many of you will have connections to the military in the past. A parent, a great-grandparent, an uncle, a great-great-uncle who served in World War I or World War II, a parent who completed compulsory military training. For me, I have all of those, and on ANZAC Day, I particularly think of my family members who have served and the sacrifices they made. My grandfather served in terrible conditions in the trenches in France during World War I. He was a sapper, a field engineer. He survived being gassed and shelled. He was sheltering in a shell crater when a shell exploded next to him, killing everyone in the crater apart from him. The gassing damaged his lungs and he had difficulty breathing for the rest of his life. My uncle served in the Air Force during World War II. He became a fighter pilot flying Spitfires in North Africa, Burma and India. He was a fighter ace and was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. But he also lived and worked in terrible conditions. At times he slept in ditches, he suffered from dysentery, dengue fever and jungle sores and lost a huge amount of weight. When he arrived home from the war, my grandmother and father met him off the bus in Raglan. Far from looking like a war hero, he looked like a scarecrow. His suit was falling off him and he weighed only 50 kilograms. All these years later, my father has tears in his eyes when he tells me about meeting Uncle Alan off the bus that day. Many of you may have similar stories. When we think of the military, we often think of the conflicts of World War I and World War II. Service in our armed forces can mean so many things. It can mean being in combat. It can mean carrying out a search and rescue mission. It can mean assisting during floods and cyclones. It can mean doing security work in isolation hotels during a COVID-19 pandemic. It can mean patrolling the ocean to protect New Zealand from illegal fishing. It can mean diplomacy, engaging with our military and regional partners. In my own career, I've done several of those things. I spent 6 months in East Timor as part of a United Nations peacekeeping mission. I deployed to Bougainville and flew helicopters in support of the Truce Monitoring Group. I flew helicopters in Antarctica in support of the New Zealand Antarctic Programme. I've flown search and rescue missions and worked in isolation hotels in Auckland during the pandemic. Most people serving in our military will have worked in similarly varied roles. And no matter the role or conflict, service people today feel the same sense of service and commitment to New Zealand as those who served 100 years ago. And it goes beyond service people. Despite being a small and isolated nation, New Zealanders' sense of service has always been strong. It's what binds us together. It was aptly shown recently in the Hawke's Bay when people from all backgrounds came together to help after Cyclone Gabrielle. That is why ANZAC Day is so important to us as a nation. It serves as a reminder of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in serving New Zealand. And it reinforces that we as a country should be proud of our willingness to help others and endure hardship when the need arises. We all hoped that the terrible losses in World War I would have meant it was the war to end all wars. But as we all know, it unfortunately was not. Our world is still ravaged in Ukraine and elsewhere by war. Today, let us all think about the continuing need to stand up to those who believe might is right and who have no regard for human rights or international law. We should all consider what we can do in the ongoing struggle for a better, more peaceful world. Nō reira, tātou kua hui hui mā nei e tēnei wā. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tautau katoa.
Thank you, Heather, for that personal address and reminding us of the current service of serving personnel here and overseas. We now move to the commemoration phase, which will include the wreath laying, and wreaths today will be announced, and the piper, Gordon Stewart, will play a lament as the wreaths are laid. The first wreath is on behalf of the New Zealand Government, and we invite the Member of Parliament for Otaki, Teresa Ngobi, to lay that wreath. We invite the Mayor of the Kapiti Coast District Council, Janet Holborough, to lay a wreath on behalf of the Council and the community. The next wreath will be laid on behalf of the Otaki Community Board by the Chair, Cam Butler. The next wreath will be laid on behalf of the Rangiatia Church here at Otaki. We now invite the Principal of the Otaki College, Andy Fraser, and senior students from the college to come forward and lay a tribute. The next wreath is on behalf of the Otaki and District Memorial RSA. It will be laid by Mike Fogarty, the President. The last wreath will be laid by the New Zealand Army. There is now the opportunity for anyone from the community, from families of veterans who would like to lay a tribute to come forward and do that now. Thank you. The last post will be played by Colin Honey in a few moments. The New Zealand and the Australian flags will be lowered to half-mast and the Ode to the Fallen will be recited before we observe a minute's silence, and then the rouse will be played at the end as the flags are raised. The last post.
Pray! Pray! Shout!
The Ode to the Fallen, Ricky Baker and Mike Fogarty.
E kore rātau e kau mātuetia, pēnei a tātou ko mahu e mai. E kore hoki rātau e ngoikore, aha ko pēhea i ngā āhuatanga o te wā. I te hekenga atu o te rā, tai no ki te aranga mai i te ata. Ka maumahara tonu tātou ki a rātou. Ka maumahara tonu tātou ki a rātou.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
We will now observe a minute's silence. Thank you. The rouse will be played and the flags will be raised. Thank you. The national anthems for Australia and for New Zealand will be sung and will be led by veteran and RSA member Claes Chamberlain.
Parade! Parade! Shout!
Gives a rosy haze and red. Every state above Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Hear our voices, we
Thank you, everyone. We'll now have the Venerable Murray Collin will offer a blessing. Without pipes in the background.
Thank you, Cam. It's our final blessing. Pā te maare a te atua e kore nei tā te whakaaro I te aki o koutou ngā kau. O koutou hini ngaru I roto I a karaiti ihu. A kia mau kia uhoki kia koutou te manaki. A te atua kaharawa. A te matua. A te tama. A te wairua tapu. Aina a ki tonu atu. Amene.
Thank you. That brings us towards the end of the service. I'll shortly hand back to the Parade Marshal, and the veterans and the parade members and others will depart with the parade, will be led by the piper and accompanied by the drummer, and they will proceed back to the RSA in Raukawa Street. We offer an invitation to people attending here today, to the veterans, the families, their friends, and to the community to join at the RSA if they wish to do so. I now hand back to the Parade Marshal.
Parade, form up on Main Street facing the RSA, veterans and serving personnel at the front, followed by emergency services and members of the public. Move there now.
Alright.
Yeah.
Standing easy everywhere.